Maggie, what is going on? What is happening? Hi, I'm Prasanna, and welcome back to my channel. This is Enchanting Tales, and this is a channel where we talk about books that we love, books that we don't, and everything in between. So, in my last video, which I'm going to link, I think, over here, I spoke about the book that I was reading then, and the book that I was talking about was Neverworld Wake by Marisha Pessel. Today, I'm going to do a quick review of that book. Quite a fascinating book. So, let me just put this cup of tea aside and grab that book quickly for you guys. So this was the book I was talking about, Neverworld Wake. A very, very interesting book. As I said in the last video, it is a book that I would like to define as dark academia adjacent. The reason for that being it's about these five friends who met in school, and then circumstances, of course, took them apart. But now they're back together and put together in this mansion, and then something very weird happens to them. What is this weird thing that happens to them? To delve into that, let's sort of backtrack on the story a little bit. So one of the five friends that we're talking about, her name is B, who also happens to be our protagonist. Now, she's this very unremarkable sort of a girl. Her only quirk being that she's somebody who likes to create playlists of imaginary songs for imaginary movies that don't exist. Why is this important? It becomes important later in the story. So this is a girl who is in a relationship with a boy called Jim, and this boy dies. Now his death is initially ruled as a suicide, but there's always something not quite right about it, and that is something that has been sitting not very well with B. And this is also the reason why she drifts apart from all their other friends group, who also form all the other key characters in this book. Now, almost a year after his death, there is a get together that's happening at one of their friends' houses. And she happens to be this extremely wealthy girl. Her name is Whitley. And she has this huge ancestral mansion, etc. And so all the friends are meeting over there. And she also invites B, but initially B has declined the offer to be a part of this celebration because she's still mourning her boyfriend. But at the last moment, she decides that she wants to be a part of it. And she goes for this particular party. Everybody is extremely surprised to see her there, but at the same time, they are also quite happy that she's, out of mourning and finally joining them again. So it is a bit of an awkward kind of a meeting, but at the same time, everyone's in the end happy that B is there. They all go out, they party, and have a good time. But on the way back, their car meets with an accident. And that's where the story really begins. Because what happens after this accident is that they find themselves back at the mansion, not really hurt or anything, but to find out that they may actually be dead. Sounds weird, right? Yes, because this book is about how these five kids are reliving the same day over and over and over again. And what happens is, on the first day, when they're back in that mansion, there is a mysterious man who knocks on the door, who calls himself the keeper, and who tells them that there is a way out of this situation that they find themselves in, but they have to come to a vote and they get to choose the one who survives the accident. So all the others are going to die in the accident except one. But who is this one who will survive is something they all have to reach a consensus on. So the entire book is about these five people, first of all, trying to outwit this man, and then trying to not come to a consensus, because obviously nobody wants to die, but then finally trying to come to a point where they can do something about it. Now, during this entire thing, B realizes something else. Since they're stuck in this limbo of sorts, it is also a good time for them all to finally come together and talk about Jim and his death, and even try and perhaps solve it. Because, as I said earlier, everybody was a little suspicious about the whole suicide story. So that is what they kind of embark on doing. It's a bit of a crazy book, a little zany. There is a lot of interesting aspects of life that are explored in it. Of course, there's a lot of conversation around death. There is a lot of conversation around suicide. Also, certain questionable things that happen with one of the characters. But at the same time, it's a very, very entertaining read. Towards the end, once everything is revealed, I wasn't really sure if I really liked the ending though, because there is somewhat of a logical explanation that is given at the end, which I'm not very sure was really required. But at the end of the day, was it an entertaining read? Extremely entertaining, yes. Should you give it a try? Yes, please do. And as I've said earlier, Marisha Pessel is a very, very good writer. She's done an excellent job in creating this very intriguing world with these fascinating characters who go through some extremely crazy things. So, yes, please do give it a try. The next book on my list is Until August by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I have been a fan of Gabriel Garcia Marquez since I was 14 years old. I will not tell you how old I am right now, but there's been a couple of decades between 14 and me now. So, anyway, the first book that I read by Gabriel Garcia Marquez was The Story of a Shipwrecked Sailor. And I did not know who Gabriel Garcia Marquez was back then. It was a book I found in my school's library, and I picked it up because I thought it was interesting. And of course, it was interesting because it was written by, Gabriel Garcia Marquez himself. Um, and since then, I have been able to read a lot of his other works, including 100 Years of Solitude, Love in the Time of Cholera, Memory of My Melancholy Horse, and so on and so forth. Now, recently, this is a book that was published called Until August. It happens to be a book based on an unfinished manuscript by Gabo himself, which was put away for almost 10 years because he wasn't fully convinced that he really wanted to publish it or not. And to really talk about why that is the case, in the preface, which has been written by Rodrigo and Gonzalo Garcia Barcha, um, it's mentioned that, in his later years, Gabriel Garcia Marquez was suffering from memory loss, and that was something that greatly pained him because, as he himself wrote, memory is at once my source material and my tool. Without it, there is nothing. And this was one of the reasons why he was not completely convinced about this book. And in fact, his final judgment on this book was this book doesn't work, it must be destroyed. Well, I'm glad that his kids did not destroy this book because it is always wonderful to read a new book by an author that you have admired for so long and have admired through his words, through his amazing use of language, through the beautiful imagery that he's been able to conjure up, and the way he really got me interested in magical realism. So, yes, this book was definitely a treat and an absolute delight because there are very few authors who can wield words in a way that he did. Um, Now, what is this book about? This book is about a woman called Anna Magdalena Bach, who is uh, in her late 40s, early 50s. She's married, she has a couple of kids. And every year on 16th August, she visits this little island where her mother is buried. 16th August happens to be her mother's death anniversary. And she travels to this island alone. And every year she goes, visits her mother's grave, lays some flowers over there. And then she goes back into town and takes a lover for the night. This is a very intriguing book because it somewhere explores some very interesting themes around uh, what it means to be lonely, what it means to be married, what is morality, what is um, what it means to really even mourn, what it means to experience loss. So there are quite a lot of very heavy themes that are explored, but in a very enchanting sort of a manner. Because the kind of language that is used in this book is extremely emotional. It really sort of pulls you into the world of Anna Magdalena Bach. And it really sort of makes you feel like you are there with her every time she is, sitting in that restaurant in the hotel, when she's locking eyes with a handsome stranger, when she's dancing with a man who doesn't really know how to dance, or even when she is making love to a man who's not her husband. So yes, is it the perfect book? No, it's not. And who are people who are readers of Gabriel Garcia Marquez will obviously understand that. But at the same time, it is definitely a book that uh, needed to be, and I'm glad that it has been published, because it allows us to go back to a style of writing which you don't really see very often these days. That slightly descriptive, slightly evocative way of you know, uh, crafting these sentences which are so full of meaning and so full of emotion. At the same time, the way it really brings the entire island alive for you. So yes, this book is definitely a must read and something you should be adding to your reading lists this year. This brings us to the book that I'm reading right now. That is Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. I know this book has also been turned into a series which is on Apple TV, if I'm not wrong. I will link the trailer below if you're interested in that. I've just started reading it. It is very interesting. It's about a chemist, a woman who's a chemist in the 1950s, and then she becomes a TV cook, like a TV food show host. And she's cooking on TV, and how she's using chemistry to do that. But at the same time, how it is also a way for her to get women to sort of be a little more empowered and understand about their place in society and fight for their place in society. It's very interesting. I'm about 1/4 way in, and so far I've been liking it quite a lot. So let's see. Next video, maybe I'll talk about it. Okay, so that was all for this video. Do let me know what else you'd like me to cover as part of the books that I am reading and reviewing. I will try and do some interesting videos, things around themes, even nonfiction books. There are certain nonfiction books that I like reading as well. But yeah, largely they're going to be books that I have read and enjoyed. And yes, I will also take you all through a quick tour of my little library at some point in the future as well. So please stay tuned for that. But for now, this was all for today, and thank you very much. Keep reading. Oh, and I almost forgot. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. It's a thing you need to do on BookTube.